Welcome to Whispers with Gary, where stories and songs meet your heart, guided by God's Spirit. I share whispers of truth, hope, and light that you can carry into your everyday life. You're not just listening, you're part of a growing family. Let's discover, grow, and spread God's Word together. Today's story is called, Just for Today. This is the day which the Lord hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Psalm 118, verse 24. Some stories begin with great triumphs, others with crushing failures. This one begins with the small things. Mornings with coffee, long walks in the fields, and the stubborn love between a brother and a sister trying to find their way in a world that keeps changing faster than their hearts can catch up. Garth Wingman was born in the early 1900s, in a time when the world still ran on horse-drawn carts, telegrams, and the unshakable faith that tomorrow might be better if you worked hard enough today. His younger sister, Sally Ann, came a decade later, the joy of his mother's weary years, a bright ribbon in a house that often fell heavy with silence. They lived through wars, hunger, victories, losses. But what made their story unforgettable wasn't the weight of history pressing on their shoulders. It was a decision made each morning to live just for today. The story, it was the early century. The Wingman family farm sat on the edge of town, where dirt roads carried Sunday shoes to church and heavy boots to the fields. Garth, tall and quiet, learned early that men didn't cry, at least not where others could see. His father believed in strong hands and harder work. His mother believed in prayer. It was Sally Ann, with her sunlit laugh, who softened the rough edges. She'd run barefoot across the grass, shouting scriptures as though they were songs. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits. Psalm 103, verse 2. For Garth, she was more than a sister. She was a reminder that joy could survive even when money didn't. When their father died suddenly in 1934, Garth took on the mantle of manhood. 17 years old, hands cracked, back stiff, he looked at Sally Ann, barely 8, and made a silent vow. I will not let her be broken by this world. But the world doesn't make vows easy. The farm was nearly lost. Debt hung over them. Neighbors whispered about how a boy couldn't hold a house together. Yet, each morning, Garth rose before dawn, stood at the window, and whispered himself words he barely believed. Just for today, I will keep us standing. And somehow, one day turned into another. Mid-century, the 1950s brought change. Electricity ran to the farmhouse. Radios hummed with news of wars ending and new ones beginning. Sally Ann, now grown, dreamed bigger than fields. She longed for the city, for education, for something more than dirt beneath her fingernails. Garth, though proud, felt the sting of her leaving. He had held the line for so long, kept her safe, raised her as best he could. Now she wanted to step into a world that didn't remember his sacrifices. One evening, before she left, they sat on the porch. The air was warm, cicadas buzzing. Garth, she whispered, do you think God ever gets tired of us asking for more? Garth thought long, then shook his head. No, but I think he gets tired of us forgetting what we already have. Sally Ann laid her head on his shoulder. Then promise me you'll never forget. That night, he opened the family Bible, thumbing to Proverbs. The fear of the Lord tendeth to life, and he that hath it shall abide satisfied. He shall not be visited with evil. Proverbs 19, verse 23. The words burned into him, not as comfort, but as a command. Abide satisfied. Modern day. Time is a thief. By the 2000s, the farmhouse was nearly gone. Paint peeling, windows cracked. Garth, now in his 90s, sat in a worn chair by the window. His hands, one strong enough to break a horse, shook when he tried to hold a cup of tea. Sally Ann, hair silver but eyes still bright, returned often now. She lived in the city, retired from teaching, but her heart never left her brother. One Sunday afternoon, she found him staring out the window, lips moving. What are you saying, Garth? She asked softly. He smiled faintly. The same thing I've said every morning for 80 years. Just for today. She sat beside him. For a long time, neither spoke. Then she reached for his hand, thin and trembling. Do you know what you've taught me? She said. That life doesn't ask us to conquer it all at once. Just a day, just this breath. And if you string enough days together, you find you've lived a life worth keeping. Tears slip down her cheeks. Garth squeezed her hand weakly. And if you rejoice in them, each day, no matter how small, you find God was in every single one. Garth's voice whispered, I used to think strength meant never bending, that a man had to hold himself like iron to keep the world from breaking him. But I was wrong. Strength is not in standing unbroken. It's in standing again after you've fallen. Each day, I rose and told myself, just for today, I'll keep going. Not tomorrow, not forever. Just today. And that was enough. Sally taught me that joy was not foolish. That laughter, even in hunger, was holy. She carried light into rooms I thought were beyond saving. Now, as my days grow fewer, I see it clearer. Life is not a mountain to be conquered, but a garden to be tended. One weed pulled, one seed planted, one prayer whispered, just for today. And when the Lord calls me home, I hope he finds me still rejoicing in the gift of this day, and the next, until days are no more. When you reflect for a moment, in the course of time, history has changed how we live. Horses to cars, letters to emails, fields to factories, silence to noise. But the truth remains, life is fragile, fleeting, and never promised. We rush, we complain, we hoard regrets. But the wisdom of the last century still speaks to us. 1, you can only live one day at a time. 2, gratitude is a discipline, not a mood. 3, character is built in silence, in unseen acts of kindness. For hurry and indecision steal more life than hardship ever could. The words of Ezekiel warn us about hearts turned from God, and the parable in Matthew reminds us that rejecting his gifts leads only to ruin. But Psalm 103 promises forgiveness, renewal, and mercy as wide as the sky. These truths, unchanging, are as urgent now as they were 100 years ago. So perhaps the greatest act of rebellion in a restless world is this: to live just for today. Looking back through time, the farmhouse finally collapsed a year after Garth passed. The land was sold, and developers paved it over. But in Sally Ann's home, the old family Bible rests open on the mantelpiece. Inside, a slip of paper in Garth's handwriting. Just for today, I will rejoice. Just for today, I will endure. Just for today, I will love. That will be enough. And when her grandchildren ask what those words mean, she smiles through tears and tells them, it means you don't have to carry the weight of a lifetime, only today. And if you do that day after day, you'll discover you've carried eternity in your hands. Takeaway just for you now. Do you want to hear God today? God's voice is in his word, and life is not lived in decades or years. It is lived in the small, quiet choices of today. Rejoice, endure, love, just for today. Just one quick question. Have you sought what God longs to say to you today in his word? If not, hear this. Only by searching the scriptures will you encounter the God who wrote them, penned by Gary Conan Doyle, in worship of God's wonderful glory. Thank you for joining me today on Whispers with Gary. If this story or song touched your heart, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and share, so together we can keep spreading God's whispers of hope and truth. Hey, thanks for listening. If you're still here, something in this story or song clicked with you. So here's a little secret. When you hit thumbs up, it tells the YouTube gremlins, hey, more of this. And if you subscribe, it's like saying, yeah, I want in. So go ahead, tap like, hit subscribe, and make sure you don't miss what's next. Because this ride, it's just getting started.